Hey everybody, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to my photo editing live stream where you can submit your images before the stream starts, and I edit them here for you live using DxO Photolab 9.11. I believe I'm on now. So again, this is not a critique of the images or any kind of contest or judging. It's simply to show you my workflow using DxO Photolab and uh, also some of the tools. So if you have any questions about anything I did, every 2 or 3 images, I like to pause and answer any questions I see in the chat section, and uh, answer those best I can. So you can consider this sort of like a virtual tech support in some ways to supplement, anything you would get directly from DxO, because I do these streams every week. And what better way to show you how to use the tools than with your own photos, right? Um, I see a lot of people here in the chat. Good to see everyone here. I see John, good morning, and Henning, Bamsem, and Paul. Oh, Robert, you're here. Good to see you. Hey, Robert, I have a half leather case with a full threaded quarter 20 screw for your OM3, so you're welcome to it if you want it. I use a different one now. Mine has the short thread, so it's not any better than what you have, the one that I use, but I don't really use the quarter 20 on the bottom much. But it's the first one I ever bought for my OM3, and the quarter 20 screw here is full threaded, nice deep thread to it. But there's no Arca Swiss plate. But I mean, you don't care about that because you like to use Peak designs. So just remind me next time I see you to bring that. And then, oh, let's see, Marcia, good to see you. And Nick, good morning. Oh, the new OM pen. Yeah, it looks pretty nice. Looks pretty nice. I talked about it this past Sunday. I think it'll just be you know, uh, like a Pen F Lite with uh, it looks to me like almost an OM3 inside. It looks like it's big enough to hold the BLX1 battery in terms of thickness. So if they do that, then they're just going to go with the OM3 with all the animal detect and everything. So if it comes out with an OM5 2 inside, then I won't be quite as excited, but maybe we'll see. Good to see you, Jeff. And yeah, if it's not weather sealed, it's not worth looking at. Maybe. I don't worry about weather sealing personally, but it does come in handy sometimes. Um, and oh, hey, Marco, how are you? If you've updated the DxO 9.11 in the latest NVIDIA driver, exports are broken. Really, I haven't had any problems with exports. I've been uh, exporting as JPEG mostly and TIFF, and I haven't run into any problems as of yet. Um, and I did update to the latest driver. I'll export one today. Um, I'll export one. I don't see any problems. Are you exporting as JPEG with, edits and stuff? After I edit one, I'll export it and see. And audio video is good, thank you. And Justin is here from Malaysia. Very good. And good morning, Heather. Good to see you. And voice sounds a little off. Yeah. I don't know why, but a couple times a year my voice gets very hoarse. And when this happened last year, I went to see the doctor. He said, "Don't worry about it." I said, "Okay." It'll get back to normal, but I'm feeling okay. I just don't know why my voice is hoarse sometimes. Um, and then weather seeing is kind of needed now. And then good morning, Dan. Okay, so let's just get right into the edits. Okay, we'll start here. One from John Gavin, Canon 5D Mark IV and a 70 to 300. Very nice setup. So the first thing I like to do is just look at the overall composition, the lighting and the white balance. These are I like to look at the initial global type changes if I have to do any horizon corrections and geometry like keystoning. And uh, and those are the main things. And then also I like to apply a default preset. I've created a preset that you can download from my website for free. Just go to robtrek.com and you'll find a download section. It's for version 9. I don't know if it'll work on previous versions, but uh, and what it does is it applies, some denoising, a little bit of sharpening, the optical corrections, etc. So very, very minor things, but I'm going to go ahead and do that first. And then I think the next thing I'll look at is this image is a little soft, so I don't know if there's some fog going on, maybe a little bit of fog. So I'm going to apply some clear view as well. And the white balance, I'm going to try and warm it up a little. It's a little bit cool. So I'm going to just warm it up. Let's just try the eyedropper. I mean, I think this building is gray, but it's kind of a gray blue. Let's go over here. Um, that didn't do much. We'll do that. How much is that off? It's off by about 500 kelvins. So we'll just pick that spot. So that looks good. Um, and then composition wise, I don't see any, or geometry, I don't see anything we need to straighten or correct for. But in terms of composition, we have a lot of negative space down here that's not really doing much other than where we start with the reflection and then we have some nice ripples here. And then it's slightly, to me, we can center this a little bit better. It's a little bit heavier on this right side than the left side. So I'm going to do that as well. So let's work on the composition. And exposure looks fine. Let's try a 16 by 7. And just come in about right here. And I'm just using simple rule of thirds, breaking the background, middle, and foreground into 3 parts. That's a nice lighter composition. And I'm going to go ahead and just work on the water first. I'm going to pull up my AI tool, and it's getting most of it. Let's select here, and then I'm going to hold the shift key and select over here, and maybe back here, right there like that. So that's a pretty good mask. And let's start with some clear view, give the water a little bit of shine, and maybe micro contrast. Let's try some regular contrast. And pull it down just a bit on the blacks. And then I'm going to shift the white balance just a little bit cooler. About 500 Kelvin, back to its original. That looks a little bit green. So I'm going to take a little green out. Oh, no, let's leave that as it is. Okay, now there's a pretty stark contrast between the water here and the middle area. So let me do one more thing. I think what I'll do, instead of doing clear view to the water here, I'm going to leave these other settings the way they are. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add another submask, or let's create a new mask and use a linear or a control line. And we'll start about here and just go up to the top. And then let's add the clear view this way. That way the transition's a little smoother, but we still have that very faint hint of fog and haze back here, which is what I want. Okay, and then let me go ahead and create a new mask. Let's select the couple of the objects here. I like these boats, so I'm going to click on that and then shift click and get the rest of these. I need a little bit stronger. Okay. And let's just brighten those up just a tiny bit. Okay. And then I think that's all I would do to this. Maybe add a little depth back here. So I'm just going to drop a couple of smaller control points in the darker areas. We'll just vary the size on these. And I'm just going to pull on the blacks. Right about there. This one can be a little bigger. That one. There. Let's just go. I'll get rid of that one. Okay, we'll call it there. So I'm going to hit the F9 key to push those panels out to the side. And we'll just do a side-by-side comparison. And I'm going to compare it to the original image without corrections. So that's the original image. And then this is the edit. And then I'll compare it with geometry, but this time do a split view and just see the difference. So yeah, I like that. I like how that came out. So we have a nice crisp water and then a nice fade off to sort of a mild fog back here in the background. All right, very good. Let's go to the next one. And I'm going to hit the F9 key. All right, so this needs a little bit of perspective correction because the lines here are slanted and this is straight. So you have the kind of camera tilted down and a little bit to the left or to the right. So let's apply my default preset. And then let's do, I'm going to do the exposure and white balance looks fine. So I'm just going right to the geometry. Let's see what perspective does. Ugh, not quite. I'm going to have to do this manually. So I'm going to click the perspective and then reset it. And just kind of dial in my own. So let's adjust the horizon. So what I'm doing is I'm looking at this line and this line, and I want them to be kind of equally pointing into each corner, or to be slightly off, like a keystone error. And then I will just straighten it manually. It's a bit much. Right about there looks good. Okay. Um, Now other compositional things, I like this. This is kind of important that the drum has a name on here. Then we have a line, we have this we have some backlighting coming in. So what I'm going to do is try and exaggerate the shadows and make sure the light is, wow, this is a tough composition. I think what I'll do is, let's go to, this isn't, it looks 16 by 9, so you did this in camera, but I would venture 3 by 2. Because we can't really see what's going on back there anyway. I want all the attention to be up here. Maybe back to 16 by 9. Just come up. I'm going to go with that. All right, so let's use a control line. And just go up to about here. I'm going to drop this eyedropper on the shadows, tighten up the luminosity, and just let's bring those in. Okay. All right, good. Let's go to, let's do it this way. Let's make a new mask. I'm just going to drop some control points on the skin tones. That's good enough. Just add a little brightening to the faces. And then maybe a little bit of warmth. Yeah, that looks good. And then I'm going to darken the background a bit. I don't know if I can do that with the AI tool. Not so much. So let's do it with the control line. And I'm going to put the eyedropper. somewhere where it's kind of a middle gray. I guess that's really bright. Yeah, that's pretty good. And look, I'll tighten up this. And let's just do a simple pull. All right, and a quick look in here. Let's do a little bit extra sharpening. Just want the faces to look a little bit sharper. No, those are global changes, but it's okay. And I think a tiny bit of clear view and micro contrast maybe. Just a touch here and there. All right. So we'll compare. All right. So I since I really couldn't see any of the faces back here, uh, I had no problem just cropping all that out and just focusing on the people here in the front. I could have maybe went just a little bit wider over here, but let's do width geometry and just kind of do it the slider way. But the main thing like this, brightening each individual face, I think makes it pop a little better. And then also just sharpening it up so that, like when you look at these two guys' faces, right? They were a little bit soft. So I did some tweaks to the unsharp mask to just bring those in a little better because they're just slightly off the focal plane. Okay, very good. Let's go to the next one. And this one's from Andrew Chen. This is a tern. Oops. I love this bird. Let's apply an extra sharp. And let's crop in a bit tighter. A little more room. Maybe even maybe a 5x4. It looks a little off. Let's just do that. Just something simpler. All right. I'm going to go ahead and select the bird and just brighten them up a little bit. And then let's do something on the eyes. I always like the eye and the area around the eye to be just a little brighter. I'm gonna have to add quite a bit. Oh, you can see a little bit of an iris there even. That might be too much, so I'll just adjust the opacity. I don't want it to be too, is it the highlights? No, it's not the highlights. I mean, the top of this, that the bird's head should be black, but he's got some really streaks of white in there. I guess we'll leave it. Add a little bit of clear view and micro contrast. There's surprisingly some blur here. I'm not sure why. I have a good shutter speed, good ISO. But it just feels like there's a little bit of motion blur because you can see some haloing here. So I'm wondering if it's the ibis. What you might try is turning the ibis off when you're at shutter speeds like at 1/2000th of a second. So I'm wondering if the ibis is causing this tiny bit of motion blur because this image should be tack sharp. But okay, let's go ahead and just compare. And we'll just do a slider. But yeah, I feel like there's a tiny bit of motion blur in this image. Either that or it's slightly misfocused, but it feels more like motion blur, which might be like a micro jitter from the ibis in the lens stabilization. But mainly all I had to do here is brighten up the bird to make it stand out more. All right, let's go to the next one. And clearly there's a horizon correction here. Let's customize F9 key. Apply a basic preset. And let's go over here. Let's try the auto horizon. Yep, that worked pretty well. Let's crop this maybe square. And then center it with the roof line here. And you know, Triskel, I'm getting tired of your bullshit, all right? You comment on all my videos, you change usernames, and you tell me the same bullshit all the time. If you don't like it, don't watch, and start your own effing channel if you want to interview Chris or whoever it was you keep recommending to me. But stop wasting everybody's time. All right, let's get back to the edit. There we go. Now, I think all I have to do is maybe add a little bit of just a little bit of clear view to the water and just to emphasize that reflection. And then let's drop down and just pull the highlights in a little bit here. Maybe a little bit on the midtones. And honestly, I think maybe just a couple of drops on the faces like I did before. So let me see. Maybe just a tad bit warmer. Okay. And we'll compare to the original. So I think the square crop works here because we have pretty good symmetry vertically and horizontally. So a square crop I think works well. And, I love the reflection in the water. All we had to do is kind of tweak it a little bit. And we got a pretty good edit there, I think. Because all you need to do here is just kind of capture the, let's compare. It's just sort of capture the moment of all these, looks like photographers getting ready to go on a photo walk and just, bring out as much, really this is bring out as much detail um, and focus as you can just to get the best image possible that you can print or do whatever. But I think that looks pretty good. Okay. So let me just pause here. But yeah, I'm sorry for that interruption. But this guy, I've tried to be nice. I said, I wish you well. You and whoever well, good luck many times, you know, and now to come in here and insult my viewers, images that are submitted, which is not a contest. Okay, that is crossing the line. You can say whatever you want about me, all right? Because I'm used to it, all right? I could care less what you have to say to me. I'm going to be very kind and just say good luck, wish you well, goodbye. But when you start insulting my viewers and what we're trying to do here, that is crossing the line. So you can go to hell, all right? Okay. That said, and like I said, this guy keeps changing his username. I forget what it was before, uh, and making the same stupid comments all the time, trying to tell me how to run my channel, and then telling me I'm an idiot and things like that. And I don't care. You say whatever you want to me, but I'm just not putting up with it anymore. It's been probably a year on and off with this guy, either through emails because I've gotten a few emails from him, and then comments on my other videos, particularly my live streams. And it's just, I could care less. This is the same guy that was complaining that we were talking about a 300 millimeter f4 because it's so expensive, it's such a waste of time. I'm like, just go away. All right, if you don't like it, you don't have to watch. Anyhow, like I said, I'm sorry about that to my regular view. You never see me get upset, but my friends and family, I will defend to the death. And I'm not putting up with it when you come in here and insult, the viewers. So, uh, very good. Um, so John says, "Oh, EDC is here. Good to see you." And the Coast Guard station, Winchester Bay in Oregon, is very foggy earlier in the morning, but had begun to lift in this image. Yeah, so I did see a little bit of fog. And F5, I'm not sure if you're talking about that image of the turn. I feel like that's something else going on there. Maybe it just misfocused slightly, but I can't imagine that it would misfocus on an easy target like that with such a lens. And you clearly see Dog Bay differently. Yep. Um, and it's a local store on Mom's Island. Oh, interesting. Yeah. I know, idiots have been, I know, they're just wasting our time. Okay, I mean, that's very different than spam, right? Spam is like usually some kind of robot or AI doing it, and you just have to ignore those best you can. But when somebody comes in like that, on a repeated basis constantly, it just gets annoying. All right, let's go to the next one. Okay, this is a nice one of a moth. I think these are moths, not butterflies. So we're going to apply an extra sharp preset. And I think all we have to do is just sort of lighten up the image here, just fill the shadows a bit and maybe a slight tilt and crop. I just like it to be a little bit more level, and then a slight crop just to balance the negative space and bring them into the center. And I think I'll also add a vignette, but let's go ahead and fill the shadow in first. So I'm just going to select the moth and the flower here and just push in like this. Just a little bit. Now let's add a little bit of clear view and micro contrast. Pull in some of the details. And then we'll add a vignette. So you can do a vignette without film pack. Just pull these into 0. And then I use the selective tone. Oh, and then invert it. I'm sorry, invert it. Is it? Oh, sorry. Chroma and Luma to 0. They're right next to each other. Sometimes I get that mixed up. But you can see just a very subtle vignette. When you do it with the tone sliders, it looks more natural because you'll notice that the highlights kind of stay about what they should be. But I think that looks pretty good. I think the other thing I might do is just add, I'm going to select the moth again and maybe just add a little bit of vibrance and a tiny bit of warmth. And we'll call it there. So we'll just do a slide view on this one. That looks pretty crispy. Lots of nice detail to come all the way in. You can see what a nice job DxO does. Cleaning all that up and giving a nice crisp image. Okay, let's go to the next one. And a really cool action shot. This horizon, maybe. Let's apply just a regular default preset. And I don't think I need to straighten the horizon, even though it is a little bit off. But let me see. Oh, yeah, that looks a little better. Maybe about that much. And then let's select the water. Just add a little bit of clear view and make it a little darker. So what I want to do is work a little bit on the speculars. So we'll use a control point for that. And let's use a very tight luminosity. And I can erase out this part. Maybe if I come down here, I won't have to do quite as much. I'm trying to drop the control point on a specular like this. And like that, and then we'll crank these speculars back up. Let me see how that's not bad. All right, and then let's select this goat and just pull the highlights a little bit. And then add a little bit of light to the eye. So let's select the control point. And just bring a little bit back in with some clear view, micro contrast. And I think we could add a little bit of sharpening as well. So let me go back to the goat. And I'm going to go down here and see if I can just selectively sharpen the goat. I think one other thing I'll do is just do a control line up here, a new mask, select the brighter part, and just darken that. Maybe even blur it a tiny bit extra. Oh, composition. Let me look at the composition again. I should have done this first. It's coming a little tighter. And I think a vignette might not hurt. Invert it. Let's cool it off a bit too. Oops. I'm going to go back to the water. I'm going to cool the water off just a little bit. This eye could use a little bit more. Okay, waiting for that preview to finish. All right, perfect. So let's do a side by side on this one. And there's the original image and there's the edit. So I think the goat stands out a lot more. It's a great action shot. So all we had to do is just kind of just add some accents here and there, right? With the speculars, the eye, and then fade the background and the water down, so that because really the waters in this area is almost the same luminance as the goat. So the goat it's kind of blending in a little bit. So this gives a really nice subject separation as well. And then I did some extra work on the fine details here. So we can take a look at that. I mean, it's a little bit crunchy when you crop in this tight. Uh, so I could probably back it off a little bit. Maybe it was down in here. No, it was the mask of the goat. What I could do is just back that off a little. And there you have it. Okay, let's go to the next one. And you'll notice there's a little green arrow down here. That means I have to download the optics module uh, because this camera lens combination I've never edited before. So this is an OM3 Astro. Oh, that's really cool. I really poo-pooed this camera when it came out, but seems like people really like this camera when they get it for doing Astro. And this is actually a really good example of using it because this is not a deep sky Astro shot, right? The Astro camera, the OM3 Astro is really good for wide field. Uh, much better than I thought, but also, you know, deep sky is a little trickier to say. I think if you're going to do deep sky Astro, uh, it's better to just spend money on a dedicated astrophotography setup. But this is a great example of using it. So I'm just curious about the color though, because I thought it was more orange, but I think because of the Astro filter, it's coming out. Yeah, it's coming out this kind of reddish color. So I might have to just warm it a tiny bit. And then let's just center it with a square crop. Oh, here. I'm just going to eyeball it right about there. And then I can expand it back out. All right, let's go ahead and let's just try some global changes. Maybe just a little push in the shadow. Definitely some micro contrast. And I didn't apply the optics module. Dang it. Let me do that. Oh, if I do it now, it's going to reset everything I did. So I'll just do it manually. That's basically all I do in my preset that I created. That and yeah, that's good. Let's see if we can bring out a little bit more detail here. Go to the unsharp mask. I don't have to select the moon because everything else is clipped black, so we're going to expand this radius. Give a little bit more push. Well, there's a couple of stars in here too. That's not. I don't think there's much to recover in the highlights, but stretch this too much. Let's go back to the details. Oops. Getting a little bit of haloing now. What's causing that? It's the lens sharpening. Yeah, I went too far in the unsharp mask. There's a little bit of a halo here if I crank this up too high. So I'm gonna just back that off a little bit. And the white balance, a little bit less magenta. All right. So with geometry, there you go. It was cloudy last night, so I didn't get a chance to do the blood moon. I did do one like myself like 4 years ago, a little bit differently because this is a 1/5 of a second shot. I used a tracker and got a 5-second shot. Um, I'll show you that after we finish editing. Oh, and I told Marco I would export one of these. So let me export this. Just do 93%. Oh, looks good. But I did a lot of exports this morning and last night. I'm not really having any issues. The first time I export an image, it usually takes about 15 to 20 seconds. But then the next one will take anywhere between 5 and 15 seconds. But yeah, no issues at all. If I go to my Instagram, uh, oh, freaking hard drive needs to spin up. We'll come back to it. All right. Wow, another beautiful shot from Easter Island. That's nice. Okay. I'm gonna just push the exposure just to see what's in the shadows. There's a couple of boats here. And we do have some nice textures here. But if I try to recover these too much, it's going to be kind of muddy. So I just want to kind of get a hint of the grass and these textures. And I'm definitely going to have to silhouette all of the statues. If you wanted to bring in like the shadow detail, this is this kind of shot you should bracket and do some exposure blending. Because the separation is just a bit too much. Let's go ahead and select the sky, and let's just do a linear push for now. I'm gonna add let's do 2 stops, and then let's globally pull it back down about there. And then I'm going to add just a little bit of clear view, micro contrast, and maybe push these blues a little bit extra. There's not much blue in there. What if I just do vibrance? Yeah, that's gonna... All right, we're not gonna mess with the color. All right, let's do a control line and see if I can bring in a little bit of texture. I'm gonna drop this down here where the grass was. So I'm gonna leave all of these silhouette. Just give a little extra there. Then let's do a new control point. And let's add just a little bit of extra light here. So warm this up to roughly the same color. This might be too much. Just back it off. Go back to this control line. Maybe fade this a bit more. Okay. Um, just tweaking this to taste. Mm. All right, I think that's all I'm gonna do. I kind of like these sailboats here, though. Um, I don't know if the AI will pick those out or not. Yep, it did a little bit. If I can just get a hint of those as well. And then make them about, just get them also a little bit warmer. And just push it. You know why this one's not? Let me see, show mask. I'm sorry for all the flashing lights. Don't need too much there. I guess that's enough. Just to get a hint of the different things in the scene, nice little accents. The horizon's straight, composition's fine. I think that'll do it. Um, okay, so I think that is a little bit more information. The water, I like the water here. Let me fix that. Because you can see the blue water in the original. Wonder if, wonder if I can just push this up a bit. And there we go. I think that looks pretty good. Okay, and then we'll do one more. And let's apply a preset. Okay. So for me, the image kind of starts here at this sidewalk. I think it frames this, and there's a little bit of horizon correction as well we need to do. And then maybe end it here. This is kind of a frame also right here. So we have kind of a triangle almost surrounding this house. So I did the preset, right? Yeah, so let's do a little bit of horizon. I'm just eyeballing it. That's good. And then square crop. Get rid of that shadow. Balance this a little bit. I'm trying to balance this corner and this, or the left and right sides. Okay. Now let's select this castle or house. I wonder if I can use this. Oops, I accidentally clicked. Or if I can use this to select it. Yeah. And I'll add this in. I'm gonna brighten that by one stop. Let's darken everything by one, maybe about a half. Right in there is good. And then go back to the local adjustment. So clear view, definitely some micro contrast. A little bit of a pull on the highlights. Some vibrancy. Saturation to bring out the reds. And maybe let's brighten up the sidewalk a little bit. So I'll just select that with the AI tool. Just give that a little bit there. I'm rethinking the crop. Maybe maybe not have this. I don't know. I can't find really a good composition here. 'Cause this is kind of bothering me, this tree. I think that's it. Do a 4x3. All right, I'm going to go with that. So the original on the left and then my edit on the right. And maybe a little emphasis on the trees would be nice. Make a new mask. These trees right here. Just something like that. Okay. Not bad. I'm a little torn between going vertical and horizontal. But I'm going to go with the horizontal because of the sidewalk here. Some nice flowers over here too that I could have done, but I wanted to make sure these trees come out in the house to stand out. So yeah, that looks really good. And you can see the fine detail. Did a really good job pulling out the shingles and the stonework on this house. Yeah, that looks really good. Okay, let me go ahead and check what's come in, and then we'll answer some questions. Wow, a bunch. Let's see. Let me go ahead and let me get these in. 1 second. So Shakave sent his edit along with the raw. And it's run from someone. I don't know who that is. David. And then one here from, oh, this is your edit from John Gavin. It looks pretty nice, the thumbnail that I'm looking at. Nice edit of the moth. And a couple of moon shots we need to edit. And then one here from Ivan. Because when did we start it? 9:30? Yeah, we're good. I'm feeling all right, so why not? Uh, okay. So here's one edit that came in. So we'll set this as a reference. And we'll compare it to my edit. So very, very similar crop. A little bit tighter over here. But you got rid of most of the fog. Excuse me. Most of the fog. And for me, my edit, I wanted to try to keep the ambience of the fog. So that's the key difference. Other than that, it's really, really close. We ended up with the same crop and did the same thing to the water. But yours is you have a lot more contrast in yours. Whereas I went a little softer to maintain that ambience of the fog. Okay, very nice. And then this is another edit someone sent in. Oops. And that's my edit. So almost identical, right? Except I did a square crop. And then if we did, let's see how the fine details are. Oh, I like yours a lot. I went just a little bit more contrast. Probably it's the micro contrast setting. But we both did brightening on the flower. I did a little more. I went a little brighter. But again, very similar edit. Looks lovely. Okay, and then let's see, we have two from Nikki. This one I probably don't need to edit. That's out of focus. So we'll just delete that. Um, Nothing I can do about that. And then this one here, this one is tiny bit out, but that's okay. So we'll start all the way over here with the bird. Um, did I miss anything? No, I think those are the edits people sent. All right. So let's apply a standard preset because our default preset because I don't have a lot of pixels on this bird, so I don't want to make it too crispy. And wow, this is a beautiful picture though. We need to do a little bit of straightening. I mean, the bird is probably crooked in real life, but I just want to level it so it doesn't feel like it's drooping down, right? And then just come in a little bit to the left. I wonder, just to keep more of the flowers in this scene. I think I'll go with this. And then let's just brighten this up a bit. Oh, there's a little bit of blue in there as well, huh? I think we just have to push the shadows. To add some vibrancy. It's kind of a bluish green though, isn't it? So let's spread this. I'm looking at this part right here, right on the chest. That's a really interesting. Let's bring out the eye just a bit. So I'm going to drop this right on the iris, the color part. Good. Okay, let me make a new mask on the bird. And I'm just going to brighten him up. Let's go a full stop. And then pull this down maybe a half. And let's, I wonder how I can, let's just make this a little darker. I don't want to, I don't want to get a halo effect though. It may not be this mask. Hold on. I think it's this mask. Okay. All right, now let's go over here to the color. I'm going to put an eyedropper on this pink part. Just make these a little bit stronger. Okay, let's add a vignette. Eh, that's not good. Doesn't, I guess it doesn't need a vignette. Let me just do a little bit this way. What am I doing wrong? Maybe some warmth? Yeah, a little bit of warmth and magenta. Come in closer. I'm going to go back to this bird. What I'm going to do, I want to make that chest a little bit brighter. Uh, this whole area. Right about there. And we can come in a little bit tighter. Although I like how delicate the leaves are too. Okay, I'm going to call it there. So, okay, so that's the image on the original on the left, right? I really like how delicate this image feels, right? I kind of lost that a little bit in this edit. It doesn't feel quite as delicate uh, because you can't see the end of this branch. So if I cropped on this side, I think we lose kind of all these really nice flowers that we see here. So I just made a choice. I'd rather see more flowers than feel that delicate. So I made it more about the color than the mood. Because the other compositional choice would be sort of this way. So it feels a little bit more delicate. Yeah, that actually looks pretty good. I like this. I just like how this branch just makes it just lightens up the image, like the feel overall. Then of course the editing. If we do a just a quick crop into the fine details, brightening up this part was really important because it's not obvious. There's this beautiful green color. So this is a hummingbird, I guess, right? I'm not sure. Um, but yeah, something like that looks pretty good. All right. Um, I think that's Shakab's edit. Used dark table, but let me go ahead and edit this. I'm definitely going to edit this very differently. So let's apply a preset, and we need to straighten this a little bit because the water is not, it just feels slanted. I doubt the auto horizon tool will work, but we'll see. Yeah, it did the opposite. It actually needs to go this way a bit. So we have this stream here that's going off to the left, and then these going off to the right. So we just have to kind of balance that. And I like these leaves here. I'm crazy about that stick, but that always happens. I like this. I think a vertical right in here will keep all the elements that I want. I just need to balance it a little bit. white. Yeah, that's about right. Okay. Um, Globally, we need to warm this up a little bit. So white balance and exposure, just eyeballing it. Exposure, we need to just bring it down a bit. Let me try some clear view. We've got a lot of highlights here. This area here, maybe a control point. Let's push the shadows. And that reminds me, Heather had a question about how do I adjust the whites. And I'll try and address that. This side is just, maybe a control line would be better. Need that one. Okay. Let's select the water here, and here, and here. Oh, we're at 69. Let's go down to 59. Oops. Uh, mm. All right, so I'm darkening the rock. Now I'm going to try and brighten up these leaves. So let's try a little bit tighter chroma mask. And just crank up the color on that. Some micro contrast. Go back to the rocks. A little bit tighter on the chroma. All right. This is still really bright up here, so let me adjust my crop. Okay, we just have to temper some of the highlights a little bit. So I'll just use a control point. Just some smaller ones. And I want to highlight some of this moss. Get tighter on the chroma and luma. Okay. Maybe here. It's a bit too strong. I'm really being sloppy about my control points, but it's okay. Still a tiny bit, just a little bit tougher at it than I thought. Okay. Maybe, let me see. Just soften this up a bit. Okay, 69. All right. Uh, Let me just check one more crop. It's waterfalls. I typically like to do verticals. I think I'll go with this. All right, so there's the original, obviously. So it's a very cool, a little bit too green on the white balance. And I prefer a vertical crop on this image. And of course, accentuating the yellows and greens against the black rock. It's kind of a brownish rock, really, but I think that works. And then we can compare that directly to, I don't know if Chicabe's is in here. Yeah, so let's make this the reference. And there's Chicabe's at it on the right. This horizontal crop actually is pretty nice, come to think of it. But yeah, my initial reaction is to go vertical. And you also, it looks like you tilted a bit more than I did. Because if you look at this is slanted a little bit to the left more than mine is. So you did a little bit more correction, which feels right. I think you did a little better job there too, but obviously I went for a very high contrast, punchy edit, which is kind of my my go-to these days. But very, very nice image. See, and I think this is the last one. Oh, no, 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 no. This one. Somehow I missed this one. Sorry. This one's from Mickey. Let me just see. Let's apply default. Brighten this up a bit. Okay, I think we can go with this. And do a square crop. Maybe 4:3. We'll do some sharpening. Okay, pretty straightforward. So that's the original on the left and the edit on the right. It was just too dark, basically. So I just had to brighten it and crop in. I think that's all that needed to be done. Okay, let's see. I have a shot very, very similar to this. Because we had a eclipse a couple of years ago and I was at home. So I got power lines and stuff in my shot too. Okay, all right, we have Mountainscape. So we need the optics module. This is an all-in-one with the 56 Sigma. Oh, nice combination. Wow, you shot this wide open though at 1.8 or almost wide open. That's a little unusual. I would have shot this like at, sorry, I have to check this. I would have shot this like at f5.6 or f8. There's a little bit of some hikers here. So let's apply that. Okay. So we have some nice color here in the clouds that I'm going to try and, increase or emphasize. And that color is also in the mountains here. Just a clear view might be it. Some micro contrast. And then a little bit of warming. Carry some of that magenta in with it. And then let's hit these clouds with a little bit of micro contrast. And let's tighten up the luminosity. All right. Some micro contrast. Ooh, not too much. And add a little bit of warmth. Okay, let's do the sky with a control line. Whoops, sorry, I'm just hitting undo. Try that again, new mask, come in here. And it needs a little bit, needs to be a little warmer actually, I think. See how we're doing. Let's just do a little bit to the grass and we'll call it there. Okay. Um, Debating. All right, I think I'll call it there. The foreground. Okay. I I don't think the image really needed to be cropped, but I just did a little bit just to give you a different kind of view. Uh, but I think, yeah, there's a little bit of a haze. This is a good example where I didn't really need to keep or I didn't feel like keeping the ambience of this hazy mountain overlook. Um, Although that it does lose a little bit of what if there were no clouds here. In other words, if these clouds were not here, I would have probably kept the haziness of uh, this scene. But I think the clouds add its own ambiance to the scene that I didn't feel like I needed to keep the haze. So that's kind of why I went this direction as opposed to, when I did this one, you know, uh, I kept the haze. Well, wherever this one I kind of kept the haze, right? But then this mountain I did not. So you can this will be worthy of a split view as well, just to kind of see kind of the difference. of the detail. All right. Let me go to the chat because I know there was a couple of questions. Uh, good for you. Never seem to get upset. Oh, I know. I really don't get upset, but after about a year of dealing with that guy, I finally just had enough. Uh, and I've been really nice up to this point. Paul is lucky to see the lunar eclipse here in Fano Islands. It was just fog all night. Yeah, we had clouds here where I was all night. And you always do such a nice job on the water. Yeah, well, now you know how to do it like I do. It's just basically select it and add some clear view and make it a little darker and then cool it off, right, temperature wise. And thanks, Rob. Always love your work with the water. Oh, thank you, Chris. I'm happy to help there. And Anthony's here. There's some talk. I will not see any major hardware improvements such as the new higher res sensor. Yeah, I read that too. Um, and I think JIP still owns a lot of OM system, but the majority share is now with the employees, something like that. But so I think they still own some, just not the majority. Now the employees are the the majority shareholder, but it's not shares because it's a privately owned company. Shift is from the astro sensor sensitivity in the red spectrum. Okay, that makes sense. I thought all they did was put a notch filter in for the hydrogen, but I'm not into astro like I used to be. Um, information from Petapixel. Yep, I read something like that. And the blood moon eclipse tends to be more red than orange. Oh, okay. And remember the thumbs up. Thank you. Thank you. And Rob, what do you use to okay, so uh Marsha was asking about this. I thought it was Heather, but I'm sorry, it's Marsha. So we'll use this as an example. So you'll notice the sliders here for exposure has highlights, but that's a little bit, that starts a little bit lower on the tone curve, right? It's not the whites, it's the highlights, because there's highlights and then there's whites. So the way I would do it is just use the tone curve, right? And I can just adjust it. Whoops, let me grab it here. I can adjust the whites this way and just pull this back. Oh, you're not seeing my screen. I'm sorry. So what I was saying is the highlights here, we don't have whites up here, right? We just have highlights, which is a little different than the whites. So if I want to increase these clouds a little bit, I can just pull this over and I can see the histogram right here. These are the whites all up in here. So I can move the whites back a little bit this way. And then if I don't want to affect the rest of the exposure, I can pull that back down. So now if we compare, oops, let me how do I just show this? I can reset that. I went a little bit too far. But that's how I would do the whites. Something like this. Let's try a different one. That's making it brighter. If I wanted to make the whites darker, I could pull it down this way. So that's bringing the whites down. Or it's not the whites, but the white point. It's just bringing the white point down. But the whites are up in here, whereas the highlights are more here, and the whites are more over here. I don't know if that's not really doing anything because I already adjusted it. But I rarely need to adjust the whites. Usually I try to make the speculars even brighter, like all the speculars here. I've already edited this image, but you can just drop a pin right where the highlights end. And let me see. Yeah, that's doing, I rarely do this, but you can see how the speculars are almost clipped now, just from this very, very minor adjustment. That's how I would do the whites. I don't know if that makes sense. I just don't have any good examples here. If you wanted to bring the whites down, you could do that, right? So those are the whites. Yeah, this is a better example. So I just put a pin roughly around where the highlights are, and then I just adjust this part of that part of the tone curve. Okay, I didn't explain that too well, but that hopefully you seeing it in action. If you practice on your own images, that's probably the best way to get a feel for doing it this way. A nice picture of Easter Island, I agree. And it's very slippery and dangerous to take that. Yeah, the waterfalls. Yeah, I've slipped and fell off a waterfall. I only dropped about 8 feet because I hit the next layer, and I didn't get hurt. Fortunately, too bad. I didn't break anything, but I was definitely hurting. It knocked the wind out of me. First of all, it knocked the wind out of me, and then I had to walk back a mile in wet shoes, and that really sucked. Lon says it's more teaching when you do tough edits. Yes, it is. Because I can get through the easier ones very quickly, right? Just click smart lighting and clear view and you're done. Some of them are really that easy. But others, yeah, when I have to get more into it, like the waterfall, you definitely see me using more tools and using the tools in a much more detailed way. And thanks, your edit was lovely as ever. Punchy colors and contrast. Yep, that's how I do waterfalls or a lot of my images. And Shakave says, love to spend time with y'all. Yeah, it's great having you here with us. And EDC says, mine was the sunbird with some pink flowers. Definitely prefer your crop with more of the flowers rather than the negative space, which I did. Yeah, I really like the flowers and the kind of the delicate feeling of the flowers, uh, overall. And then what settings do you recommend for photographing the moon? Gosh, off the top of my head, I don't know, but the moon is basically daylight, right? Uh, so you can shoot it like I would just spot meter it personally, but there are settings online for the moon exactly. But when you're talking about a lunar eclipse or blood moon, these kind of things, you have to expose a little differently. But you could spot meter the moon, right, with your camera, and then lock those settings in using manual mode. And so set your ISO to base 200, depending on your camera, but 100 or 200, set your base ISO, and then spot meter the moon, and then it'll give you the settings to use. Um, but you want to use at least, you don't want to have too long of a shutter speed because then you'll get motion blur. because the moon is moving. So I would not use a shutter speed longer than say a half a second or 1 second. I would try to keep my shutter speed at like 1/125th, and then set your aperture to f8, ISO 200, and see if that works, and then adjust your shutter speed to get the the brightness of the moon right. That would be my first attempt. Not sure. Yep. Hopefully I got it. Um, and let's see, Rob, you are fortunate you did not get hurt. I broke my kneecap 9.5 weeks ago. Oh, going out to shoot the sunrise. I've been inside the entire. Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that, Marcia. Yeah, this was many years ago, my younger years, maybe 10 years ago, when I took that shot and fell off the waterfall. When I used to go camping and hiking a lot. Uh, so I was in much better shape back then. If I had that same fall today, I would have probably broke something. But back then I was more fit, so as I was falling, I was able to kind of just, I don't know, uh, break the fall a little bit by grabbing onto things on the way down. But these days I would have just dropped like a rock and broke every bone in my body. And you're welcome. So yeah, I wish I could give you better. I wish I could give you a more methodical way of doing it. But let's just look at the settings I've used, okay? So if we go to moon, so I'm just going to my Flickr page. Here's one that I did. So f8 1/400,000, ISO 100. So that's one set. Let's see how similar this one is. This is another one. This one I did 1/125th, ISO 200. The aperture was probably f8 again. And then this one, 1/180th, ISO 200. So not too far off from the previous one. Just a little faster shutter speed, because since the moon is moving, you want to freeze the moon so you don't get any motion blur. Otherwise, all your fine details will be stripped. This one I did at 1/80th of a second f8 ISO 200. This is with the EM5 Mark III and 75 to 300. That one's okay. It's a little bit too bright though at 1/80th of a second. I should have probably did 1/125th or one, yeah, something like that, because these are almost clipped over here. And let's see, this one, 1/250th ISO 200 f8. So this one I probably had to brighten up a little bit. That's pretty dark. Oh no, this is the straight out of camera. So straight out of camera, these are the settings I used. So what I'll do is just what you can do is I'll give you the link to this image. Well, just go to my Flickr page, right? Um, if you go to my Flickr page and just type in moon, actually it only works when I do it. But go to Flickr and type in moon and look at all the different settings. Like here's others people's settings. F13 1/80th. So it looks like it's about one. It looks like ISO 200 f8. I'm sorry, ISO 200 f11 and maybe 1/125th of a second. You could start there. Uh, I've heard of people doing high res, but because if you do high res shot mode on the moon, make sure you do handheld high res shot. But generally, the problem I found with doing high res shot mode on the moon is a little bit small in the frame. So when the camera tries to stack the high res images, it doesn't have enough things to grab onto to align it. So every time I've tried to do high res shot mode on the moon, I've gotten error. It just would not stack the images together. And I think that's primarily because the moon is too small in the frame, the sky is black. So the algorithm that it uses to stack the images to create the high res shot just doesn't have enough things to grab onto to do the alignment. So the short answer is no, you cannot do high res shot mode. The long answer is if you have a long enough lens, let's say you have the 150 to 400 with the 2x teleconverter, you can probably fill the frame more. But I don't have a way to test that myself, so I don't have that lens. But anyway, we'll call it here. So thank you everyone for sending your images in for me to edit. As always, it's a lot of fun and challenging for me. And hopefully you picked up a few ideas and tips and like the edits that I did on your images. So I'll be back Sunday, God willing, for another live stream. So, eat healthy and exercise. Have a good day. Have a great weekend. And I hope to see you guys all again soon.